It's the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast with your hosts, the Wolf and Action Jackson, who are keeping rock alive by talking classic rock, hard rock, progressive rock, heavy metal, 80s music, early MTV, UK vs. US chart success, and much more. This is the home of classic album and live concert reviews and your place for interviews with artists and legends. You're rocking with the Wolf.
Out there, rock and rollers. Welcome to episode number 287 of the Ugly American Werewolf in London Rock Podcast. Brought to you by me, your host, Mac B. the Wolf, and I will be joined, as I always am, by my partner in crime from the East Coast of the USA, Mr. Gary Action Jackson. And I hope you've tuned in to us this May. We've had a great month this month, kicking it off with first concert memories with Ryan Condal, the executive producer and co-creator of House of the Dragon, talking about seeing Rage Against the Machine back in the day. And then we followed up with our buddy Neil from Def Lep Pod, talking about Slang. The Def Leppard album turned 30 and, well, didn't do great at the time, but has aged very well. From there, we went to Blue Oyster Cult's Agents of Fortune, turning 50, and containing the all-time great hit, Don't Fear the Reaper, which featured a cowbell, if I'm not mistaken. And then more recently, we reviewed the special limited release Iron Maiden movie, Burning Ambition. What we thought about that, and getting prepared to see them again this summer. But we wrap up the month of May with a band that we've reviewed before, several of their albums, a live show, and have even interviewed one of their members, and that is Genesis. But we're going into the super pop era of Genesis in the 80s, not the progged out heavy duty Genesis of the 70s, which we have come to love. The fact of the matter is, folks, that I've been on a prog journey over about the last 10 years or so of my life. I got really into old Genesis and Steve Hackett, who we have had on the show. But growing up, we didn't know anything about that Genesis. We knew about pop Genesis, about Invisible Touch Genesis. And Invisible Touch, which came out in June of 1986, celebrating its 40th here, was huge. It was all over MTV. It was all over the radio. And they toured it for almost a year. They did over 100 shows. And it sold well around the world. Maybe 15 million copies sold or something like that. 6 million in the US alone. And it had top 5 hits off the album, including their first number 1 with Invisible Touch. So while it may not match the Selling England by the Pound or Foxtrot or Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, the stuff that we have come to appreciate more over the last decade as we've gotten more into prog and explored the back catalog of Genesis, this is more the starting off point for us. We knew them as a pop band who'd done the 83 Genesis album and had done Duke and Abacab and had pop hits. And then this one was the big one. It's the one that let them play arenas and stadiums in the US, got them down to Australia and New Zealand for the first and only time as a band. And huge hits like Invisible Touch, like Land of Confusion, which was helped by a very interesting video, like In Too Deep, like Throwing It All Away, like Tonight, Tonight, Tonight. You cannot argue with their success. But the problem was, around this time, their lead singer, Phil Collins, was also having huge success as a solo artist and ending up in movies and TVs and doing soundtracks and doing videos and covers. So sometimes they just seemed to be everywhere and you couldn't really get away from Phil Collins. And after doing an incredibly successful album in No Jacket Required in 1985, comes back in 1986 with Invisible Touch with Genesis, their biggest seller of all time. And the problem is sometimes you can't tell the difference between a solo song from Phil Collins or a Genesis song. Now, fast forward many years later, a lot of people like to give Phil Collins stick. He was overrated. He got way too overexposed. He was writing great songs. He's singing great songs. He has a great personality. He can perform. He earned all that. In retrospect, people maybe got a little bit sick of it. But at the time, you really couldn't argue with his success, and the record company didn't even try. Like, oh yeah, you got a 5th single? Yeah, let's put it out. You got a 6th one? Yeah, sure, why not? So we're going to explore Invisible Touch and compare it to the other Genesis albums we've reviewed, but also kind of think about it and what did it mean to us growing up, because it came out at a certain point of our lives where a lot was going on and this was everywhere. And do we hate it? No. Do we love it? No. You kind of had to just get used to it because you're going to hear it anyway. Lots of good stuff on here, but some stuff that I don't think is aged very well, and we're going to go track by track. But first, we do have a little business to take care of. We love to mention we are proud members of the Pantheon Media Network, a family of over 100 different shows. You can learn more at pantheonpodcast.com or follow on socials at Pantheon Pods. And you know we're going to give a shout out to our incredible intergalactic sponsor, rarevinyl.com, who, like Genesis, is based in the UK, folks, but they ship all around the world and they procure collections from all around the world too. And you better believe they have a lot of cool Genesis stuff, whether it's imports or singles or picture discs, box sets, magazine covers, point of sale stuff from record stores. Whatever you're looking for, you can find it in the 250,000 items in stock at rarevinyl.com. And the brilliant part is they gave us a code UGLY, UGLY, that if you use that at checkout, you can save 10% off one entire order. Not just one album, but one entire order. So get a first edition print of Invisible Touch, but also go get a first edition print of And Then There Were Three. Go get The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. They made a great 50th anniversary edition of it. Go pick that up. Buy whatever your heart desires, use the code UGLY, and save 10% off all of them. So go to rarevinyl.com, use the code UGLY, save 10%. Your record collection will thank you. Now back to Genesis. They were a hard and heavy prog band in the 70s. And then they kind of evolved over time into this pop band. And once Peter Gabriel had left, it gave Phil Collins the space to go be not only the frontman of this band that was growing and growing, but also go out on his own and become a huge international star in his own right. He was the last person in Genesis to do a solo album, but his solo albums have sold better than anybody's. And the Land of Confusion video was huge at the time. All their videos were all over MTV, but that one, thanks to the puppets and the masks and telling the story of Ronald Reagan, well, it's got a special place in the history of videos, and it certainly helped propel this album into the stratosphere. Really, it's the one that has allowed them to continue as a band, although off and on, for the last 40 years. So let's get into it. We're talking Genesis' Invisible Touch as it turns 40 here on The Wolf. So I got to tell you that I was a little bit nervous to do this record, Jackson.
Okay. Pleased to be explaining.
Well, because obviously we know these songs, you know, we couldn't get away from them in 1986 and 87. And it's what made Genesis not only this huge popular band, but it also crossed them over from the point like, oh yeah, these are prog guys who are now doing some pop stuff too. Well, now they're a big pop band, just like their lead singer when he's not in the band. And it changed them, I think, from... Okay. I feel like the prog was kind of gone, even though Domino is a pretty long song. It's kind of two songs put together. And we have been on this big prog journey over the last however many years, you know, getting to know the 70s Genesis with Steve Hackett, who we've had on our show, and Peter Gabriel. And I would say in some ways we really like that 70s prog stuff better than a lot of the 80s cheesy stuff. And, you know, I'm like, am I going to rip into them? Am I going to find, oh yeah, I still like this stuff? Am I going to be like, wow, this is so different from what they did 10 years before, which I do like? Is it going to be cheesy like Phil Collins solo stuff? We've done No Jacket Required on the show. So I don't know. I because Genesis has changed so much, and this was my original, at least in my understanding of them, and this is the original impression of them. I don't know. I was wondering if it's worlds colliding or if I'm going to just have to diss it all or what, you know, because it's different when they were so different in the 70s, but this is the way we remember them. Right.
Correct. Yeah, we came into the story at this chapter.
Pretty much.
And then worked it backwards.
That's right.
So yeah, I could see if you were a hardcore Genesis fan from the 70s, like if you grew up with that, you hated this.
Yeah.
Because it's a sellout, right?
Right.
Oh, okay, you're going to put pop songs out so you can sell records. But apparently this was the first time they played like arenas in the United States. So, or maybe stadiums. I don't know. This was their big tour. Like this one really broke them big.
Yep.
In the United States.
Huge. And they got 5 top 10 hits and another one hit the charts. There are only 8 songs on the record.
Right.
So it's kind of amazing that, but that's kind of part of their ubiquity. It was like the 1983 Genesis album, which we reviewed. It did pretty well.
Yeah.
Then Phil comes out with No Jacket Required. It's
Yeah.
everywhere. He's on
Yes.
TV, he's on movies, it's all over the charts. Then he comes back to Genesis, and they're everywhere. And every single song they do not only becomes, it doesn't like it's just, oh, it's a top 20 hit. It's a top 5 hit. That's huge. 5 top 5 hits. That's not for like rock bands. That's for like pop princesses and stuff like that. It's like something
Right.
Madonna might do or something. Whitney, right?
So that's why I'll never figure this game out, because you just mentioned how popular this deal was, and it is, they were playing stadiums. I'm looking at the sales. It's only, what is it, 6 million
In the U.S.
in the US. I would have thought it would have been like 10 million based on remembering these songs and thinking, yeah, they were all over the place. Like the Land of Confusion video,
Yeah.
it was always on MTV.
Always.
I mean, so I look at this and I'm like, I don't get it. I would have thought it would have been at least 10 in the United States, but okay.
Well, and it was probably more than 10 overall. I mean, if you just kind of do the numbers on
Right.
that page, it's about 9. And if you throw in all the singles, because some of the singles went gold or platinum in the UK, and that's 600,000 in sales. So, I mean, I think the total number is somewhere in the 15 million range or something like that for this album, which is huge, but it's also kind of crazy. And I feel like it's, yes, had that kind of success with 90125. Maybe not quite as many in sales,
Right.
but it's the prog band that, used to do about 1 million in sales on each album. And then all of a sudden they have this pop success and it's through the roof. And yeah, you get a lot of new people on board who dig it, but a lot of the old heads who were there forever, they're like, this isn't Selling England by the Pound. Or with Yes, it's like, this isn't, Close to the Edge or whatever, that's like, they're ruining our bands. And like from, I don't know if it was Neil or Jimmy or one of those guys were like, by the 80s, if you were into prog, you just went in a different direction. You just went to Marillion, and said,
Right.
forget Genesis. They're not what we used to love, but there's other bands that are. So, Fish sounds just like Peter Gabriel anyway. So let's just listen to Marillion, kind of thing.
But something to point out here real quick. Your 90125, yes, did put a record out in 1987 that we will probably not be reviewing because
No.
it didn't do quite as well as
No.
the Invisible Touch.
Yeah, no, and just like we'll never do We Can't Dance because what the hell, that song sucks. That I Can't Dance song sucks. It's just. Bleh.
But that was a big hit though too. I remember that was all over the place, and I thought the same thing. Like, what? No, what is this? Stop it.
They could do no wrong. Oh, it's new Genesis, and they're back after however many years. Okay, well, let's just send that into the top 10. I'm like, no, it's not a good song. I mean, No Son of Mine. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's it was not a bad song. It was about some contemporary issues. I'm like, okay, yeah, I got no beef with that song.
Right.
But that it's the worst song I've ever heard. I mean, the only reason they play it's because it's Tony's song, and Tony, I feel like, is firmly in charge of Genesis and their set list because he can't make money any other way. The other guys all can. So,
and that's something that maybe we need to talk about too. I know that they like to say, well, we're all just 3 guys coming together and, putting these songs together. You can't tell me that at this point in time, the power dynamic hasn't shifted a little bit, because when you come in, I mean, nobody had a bigger year in 1985 than Phil Collins.
nope.
I mean, just, hey, fellas, how we doing? Oh, Phil, well, you know what? Here's the deal. How many of you guys sold 12 million copies? Oh, just me? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Did you guys play on both sides of the Atlantic for Live Aid?
Right.
Yeah. No, neither.
Right.
Okay. That's interesting. Okay.
Did you star in an episode of Miami Vice?
Yes.
Not wasn't in the episode. Like, he was the main character of the episode. So yeah, he had a pretty big year.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you play on Eric Clapton's album? Produce it? No.
And produce it? Yeah, no. And
Did you
even
play on Robert Plant's album? No. Yeah. Okay.
did you play with that band? What was that one that got together? Oh yeah, Led Zeppelin.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. And then even Mike Rutherford had Mike and the Mechanics, which wasn't that. I mean, they still had hits on the radio. So, and I know Tony's like, well, I do other music. That's, for the passion of making music.
And some of his solo stuff does fine in the UK, but we never heard about it over here. Ever heard it over here, right? So, sorry about that, Tony. But he's always been the one who's been kind of in charge of Genesis. And like Peter Gabriel said in the documentary, some of the parts, it sometimes comes down to who shouts the loudest. And Tony's always about, yes, I wrote this and this is awesome. We're doing this and you can't tell me no. And he's very type A about it. But this, I mean, like you said, it let them play stadiums. They played like 4 or 5 nights at Wembley. They played 112 shows between September 86 and July 87. And they averaged something like a gross of $300,000 a night or something like that. Well, if you extrapolate that over 112 shows, that's like $35 million, which in the mid 80s is a ton of money. It's over $100 million today, so.
And you're only splitting that 3 ways too.
Right. Plus in the US, Michelob sponsored the tour because Michelob was way into sponsoring these like 60s and 70s rock acts, which were coming back. If you remember, Tonight was on Michelob ads.
Okay, yeah.
Across the nation, and they sponsored the tour. Eric Clapton reworked After Midnight.
Right.
And that was in Michelob ads. And then Steve Winwood had Don't You Know What the Night Can Do? So it's all about nighttime Michelob and being English and in your 40s or maybe late 30s, but
I'm sorry, people out there. I've never in my life thought, you know what I want right now? A Michelob.
Michelob. Refreshing Michelob. I think they really came back with the Ultra, right? The Michelob Ultra is like, you like light beer? Here's a super duper light beer. No alcohol whatsoever. But for some reason, you still want to taste beer. It's like,
I can only have 12 carbs a day. Well, here you go then.
I don't get non-alcoholic or low alcoholic beer. You want alcohol, right? So put it in you. Stop with that.
Correct.
It's only blah, blah, blah calories or, know.
Just drink water then and shut up.
Exactly. What the hell's wrong with you all? But something that they did here and they haven't always done is they decided to say all the music was written by all 3 of us equally. And then one of us will write the lyrics. So I don't know if that means that they take 50% and they split that 3 ways and then the writer gets the other 50%, or do they all get a quarter and then the writer of the lyrics gets the 4th quarter? I don't know. I don't know how it breaks down, but it's more than likely the first one I described. Because it's 50 music and 50% lyrics. And so, I don't know, it used to be kind of, you would get credited for doing, if you did most of the work, you get it. And I think, again, that's Tony's like, look, it's great when Phil has a great write and it goes to the top of the charts, but we don't get much of that. But if we all write it, and they decided this time, let's not come in with a lot of preconceived stuff. Let's just come to the farm in Surrey, which is their kind of hangout and recording spot. And you can see them they have like a documentary, like they're riding bicycles from like the main house over to the, the thing. And I think it's great that they can get away, but they obviously were doing awfully well before this, if they can afford a farm in Surrey with a recording studio in it.
I was thinking about that too. Yeah, if you've got your own complex there, this was a nice kind of top to things, but you already had money coming in.
Yeah, so now it's just rolling right in on you, man. Yeah, they did awfully well between the album and the tour. They were unpoor after that. They had no financial hardships after that. Even like getting divorced, like, fine, take some of it. I got so much of it. Just get out of here. Yeah. And we talked about Genesis, the 1983 Genesis album, which we did talk about a few years ago now. I mean, we did it for its 40th, so now this is at its 40th. I mean, I'm sorry, the writing credits are the same for that one as it is for this one.
I think that it probably just makes everything easier, because you're right. You have this big hit song, hit record, but if one person is making all the money, that's going to be a sore subject. And you figure, I think it kind of works out that way better when you just kind of come in with maybe a little bit of an idea and then everybody adds to it.
Yeah.
Give everybody the writing credit. It's just easier.
And it kind of seems the same way in that the Collins writes, Mama, and That's All, are the big hits.
Right.
The Rutherford writes, Illegal Alien and Taking It All Too Hard, are hits, but they're just not quite as big as the Collins hits. And then Tony Banks has the, the big proggy, Home by the Sea, second Home by the Sea, just like he has Domino Part 1 and Domino Part 2 on this one. So he's getting his stuff on there, and they're playing it live, and we'll get into that in a little while. But I think they're realizing if we just let Phil do it, he will make a hit. We will put our stuff on there, and then we get some writing credit for it and some of that income. But
Yeah,
just
he
let
obviously
Phil do
has
it.
he obviously has the secret sauce to make these things big radio hits.
Absolutely, yeah. And they brought Hugh Padgham in, who had worked with them before, and God, who has he not worked with? I mean, he was huge in the '80s, huge, and working with who did he work with? Yes, Frank Zappa, Sting, Spando, Psychedelic Furs. He did Synchronicity and Ghost of the Machine for the Police. Did they sell any copies? Paul McCartney, Madness, Elton John, Human League, Hall & Oates. He did Abacab, Genesis, and Invisible Touch. He also did one of Peter Gabriel's solo albums, The Fix, Melissa Etheridge, Sheryl Crow, all of Phil Collins' big solo albums, Kate Bush, David Bowie, Bee Gees. Yeah, he had the touch in the 80s, and yeah, they may have been poppy, but some of these, man, are just thin 80s tinny production, and we're going to point it out here and there, but it's the way kind of everything sounded then.
Yeah.
And some of it is very weak, dude, especially for a band that used to be like prog kings. Some of this is thin as shit. But hey, look, it went to number 1.
That's the thing. I mean, can you argue with that? Like, yes, you can sit here and pick it apart and say, well, these are cheesy songs or whatever. But I mean, yeah, we sold 15 million copies of this, so obviously the fans loved it, ate it up.
And no, it didn't go number 1 everywhere, but it did go top 5 everywhere. 3 Australia, 5 Austria, 1 Canada, 1 Netherlands, 2 in the Finland, 8 in France, 2 in Germany, 5 in Italy, 9 in Japan, 1 in New Zealand, 3 Norway, 3 Sweden, 3 Switzerland, 1 in the UK, and 3 in the US. And it ended up in the top Billboard end of year charts in the US twice. It was number 40 in 1986, but it was number 10 in 1987. So it actually gained momentum over the course of the year instead of going down. There's this big, they came out and then it fades. No, because the singles kept coming out.
Right.
But yeah, 6 times platinum, 4 times platinum UK, 3 times platinum Australia, platinum and gold all around. And it was all over MTV. I mean, you couldn't get away from it. And, I liked it. And then eventually it's like, okay, I get it. They have the little masks, the puppets on. Yeah, I get it. It's a land of confusion. Okay, what else is there? Is there anything else? The answer is no, not really. The answer actually was Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer. They'll play that instead. But we'll get into some of that here in a little bit.
Hi, this is Steve Hackett. You're listening to The Ugly American Werewolf in London.
Why don't we start working through some of these songs here? Because, of course, once again, Collins was writing a little bit about his first marriage, which had ended. I mean, it was 5 years ago at this point, but he's still singing about it, I guess, and using electronic drums.
Oof. I don't like that.
I know.
Yeah.
But Rutherford liked this one. He said, the Genesis, the 83 album, had kind of a darkness to it. Mama was kind of a dark song. And
yeah.
But Invisible Touch was more bright, big energy.
And, what's the old adage? Don't bore us, get to the chorus.
Mm-hmm.
You don't technically start with the chorus, but you kind of do because the music, the ba-na-na-na, dun, 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 that is the chorus. So they start right off with that. I mean, it hooks you in immediately.
Yeah, Invisible Touch. Actually, Collins has said that this is his favorite Genesis album.
All right.
And the working title was Monkey Zulu. I don't know why.
Okay.
But that's what they called it. And they wrote it around the world, I guess.
And that's an interesting thing for him to say, because I would have thought he would have said that Trick of the Tail would have been his favorite, because that was the one where they proved they could do it on their own without Peter Gabriel. So interesting.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I like that song very much.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. This one, I guess he likes the way it came together. The video's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's them, assing around at the
arena or the stadium or the farm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, some of them run together because there's so many. Other than Land of Confusion, they don't really stick out to me.
Right.
But no, Invisible Touch was the first single off the record. It went to number 1 on Billboard, number 3 adult contemporary, number 1 mainstream rock, and 15 in the UK. And that's going to be kind of you'll hear, you hear those numbers, that's going to be pretty common. Goes in the top 5, top 10, maybe number 1 in the US. And then it's in the teens or 20s or something like that in the UK. So it's like, it was popular, but it wasn't like, oh my God, everything Genesis does turn to gold, like they push the hell out of it here in America.
Mm-hmm.
But what's interesting is it actually went to number 7 as a live single in the UK in 92 when they did the live album After We Can't Dance.
Okay. Yeah.
Or maybe it was just a single, but yeah, so it was 15 the first time in 86 and then 7 on the live version in 92. And it was actually knocked off of Billboard's number 1 slot by Peter Gabriel's Sledgehammer. So Genesis is starting to dominate here. I mean, either it's a Phil Collins solo song, or it's Genesis, or it's Peter Gabriel, or even GTR came out in 1986 with When the Heart Rules the Mind. So it's like Genesis owns American pop waves in 85 and 86. But I mean, all right, so give me what your honest opinion of the song is now versus the way you felt about it back then.
I mean, I can't tell you I ever really loved this song because it was kind of, to me, this is too light. But you listen to it now, and I think to myself, for all the success that Phil Collins has, in his life, he's got a real problem.
Real problem
with he's got a real problem with women. Like he just seems like he just attracts the wrong kind of person. And I mean, you listen to this, and I mean, I know he changes the lyrics a little bit live and includes some salty language. This is about a person who is poisonous to your life, but you just can't stay away from this person. They're going to screw everything up. They're going to cost you millions of dollars in a divorce. They're going to make you throw things against the wall and curse your life, but you're still going to keep coming back from it because you're a sucker.
No, it's because you're a short, bald man, and you're lucky to get a 7 or an 8. Okay, you should have a 3 or a 4, but you're getting 7 and 8s because you can sing these songs, short little bald man. So you keep saying, oh, she must like me for me. No.
Yeah.
She likes money and fame. I mean, when she draws up my perfect husband, he's 6 or 7 inches taller than you and has way more hair and isn't a drummer. Good Lord. So,
that was one thing that kind of struck me too, listening to the record and then watching because they, like you said, they had 4 or 5 videos.
Yeah.
How are these dudes video stars in 1987? I mean, obviously they carried over from the 70s, but yeah, these look like friends of your dad's.
Yeah. Especially, oh my God, dude. So, of course, I have the album, right?
Yes.
Look at this for a band photo. Are you kidding me? Look at this. Tony's wearing a sweater with like this shirt coming out. I'm like, what a dork. You are so not a rock star, dude. And you don't smile either.
Nope.
Unhappy English bastard. He didn't even smile at the last concert. I was at the second to last show they ever did at the O2. And he's, they do the introductions as Tony kind of, and Tony Banks on the keyboard. Like, like smile, you unhappy bastard. You were so rich.
They look like a college professor or, I work in software development or something like that. Not like, I sell millions of records worldwide.
Unbelievable. But you're right. Because in the line, and though she will fuck up your life. He did that live all the time. He's always did it. He did it that night that I saw him, but he did it one night live on BBC. And he said, well, I'm going to have to give him a talking to for that. But yeah, B-side was the second part of Domino, the last Domino. And Rutherford said, it's a wonderful song. It's upbeat. It's fun to play. It's always a strong moment in any gig. And they have played it every time since this basically came out back in the day. I mean, you're right. It's a little cheesy.
Yeah. The drum intro at the beginning that's on the electronic drums is just horrendous. I'm like, ugh, ew, stop it.
I do think the chord changes are pretty good. I mean,
it's catchy as hell. I can see how people like to.
It's hooky,
yeah. I mean, it's the Phil Collins special. It grabs you from the beginning. It like Rutherford said, it's upbeat. You don't really have to listen to the lyrics at all. I mean, you could sit there and drink your Rianiti or whatever on the couch, and
He looked like a Rianiti drinker too. Yeah.
Seems to have an invisible. Like, what does that mean? I don't know. I just like to, when I'm driving to my software engineering job, I listen to this on the commute in the morning.
Yeah, on my bicycle. Yeah, I mean, it's better than she needs to have a monkey Zulu. I mean, whatever they were using that for. But it's a 3.5-minute pop song.
Yep.
And it did very well. The second song, Tonight, 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 also a Collins write, is damn near 9 minutes long.
But you would never have known that had you only listened to the radio.
Right, because the 7-inch single version is like 4.5 minutes.
Uh-huh.
But the music video version was over 6. So if you did catch it on MTV, it was longer than what you heard on the radio. And interesting, the B-side of this is the first part of Domino, In the Glow of the Night. Now, this was released in January of 87 in the US, but it was March of 87 in the UK. So it's one of those things like they do one in one place and one in the other. I think Throwing It All Away was the second US single, whereas that didn't come out till later or maybe it came out earlier than that in the UK. No, it was later. It was, Throwing It All Away was 86 US, August 86. It was June 87 in the UK. So this album had a long life, as you can tell. I mean, they kept releasing singles and they kept doing just fine. And then there's there was like a 12-inch version that was like 12 minutes long. I'm like, what are you doing? Who wants a 12-minute version of this song?
It's all right. Try to shake you, set it free, just let it go. Just get it away from me. Oh, 'cause tonight, 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 I'm going.
But what I never realized is what it was really about.
Yeah, me either. Yeah, especially listening to it as a kid. Like, I'm like, something about a monkey, and it's, to me this was better because this is a little darker, and you got that, like, they got that weird keyboard beep boop beep boop beep boop beep. That's kind of that's kind of cool. But then he's like, I'm coming down like a monkey. Okay, I don't know what that's all about, but whatever. But yeah, now you figure out this is about drug addiction, and you want to get away from this, but you can't. You've got money, but you need to score, and it's like, ooh, this is more heavy duty than I thought. Ooh.
I know, and it's just kind of interesting that they use this in a beer commercial.
Right.
Like, where was the New York Times saying they are using it to sell alcohol when it's all about drug addiction? And
I think we were a lot cooler in the 80s.
Yeah, we weren't so up our own ass.
No.
It's like, I remember when something like Jack Daniels used part of Jane Says in a commercial, it was in there like 5 seconds.
Okay.
And then, someone in the New York Times, Jane Says is about heroin addiction, and you're using a heroin song to sell alcohol, and and we're from New York, so everything we say is right, and you're all wrong. But you're right, I had no idea back in the day.
No.
That's what it was about.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a nice thing. Oh, it's tonight,
right.
tonight.
And it's kind of cool because it kind of builds in, and, he's got the choruses, and then it kind of, the guitar comes in, it gets more frantic there. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, this is a good song. I like this because it builds up, and it is darker than the first one. So,
and there's some urgency. Like,
yeah,
you keep
correct.
telling me you're going to help me. You're going to help me, but then you don't. So now I'm in too deep.
Yeah, and for a short, bald guy, he can really sing.
Oh, that's for sure.
I mean, just that voice of the 80s. And I was watching some stuff for this. They were talking about Trick of the Tail again, and the whole thing about how, well, I think I'd like to sing. I don't know. And then, he would sing the part, for somebody else, the singers that they would interview or they were looking at, and they're like, no, he's got this. I think he's the guy. And then it was even, well, but can he do it live over and over again? To come this far, yeah, this was the right choice to make, because I don't know if anybody else could have brought them this far.
No way. Yeah, no, absolutely. And he's funny. He's entertaining.
That's the other thing. Unlike Tony Banks, he's up there. He's making this shtick. Even Rutherford is the same. Yes, I play the guitar and some nice chords come out. Like, you need that. Yeah, you need the guy up there to work the crowd, and the other two, we're not going to do that.
No, and Phil may not look like David Lee Roth, but he can command a stage the
Yeah.
way, just like David Lee Roth, and make jokes just like David Lee Roth. And,
Uh-huh.
I mean, when I saw him, though, of course, it was kind of at
Well.
the end. He's in a chair. Fuck Putin. God. I'm like, okay. You need to take one less pill before you go on stage there, buddy. But look, again, Billboard number 3, adult contemporary number 8, 9, mainstream rock, 18 in the UK. And it was actually number 68th overall song in the US in 1987, like end of year charts. But yeah, I think that Invisible Touch was their first ever, and maybe only, U.S. number 1 as far as the Billboard top 100.
I think so,
concerned.
yeah.
But then all the rest of these still made it to the top 5, which is kind of crazy.
I mean, when you figure, like you said, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tracks, and what, 5 of the 8 were
Top five.
singles? Yeah,
Top
top
five.
5 singles. That's crazy.
That's nuts. It's better than Bowie.
Right.
So anyway, is it a good song? Yes. It's kind of over time. I have more respect for it just because I know what it's about now.
Yeah.
And I used to sing those kids, you keep telling me you're going to help me. I'm like, yeah, man, I need help out here.
Right.
I don't need help shaking drugs or whatever he was singing about, but
I
somebody
need
needs
help
to
with
help
my
me, damn it.
math test.
Yes, exactly.
Not crippling addiction.
I'm 13. I think I know everything, but I don't know shit. You got to help me. All right, let's move on.
Mm-hmm.
Still on the first side here, folks. We go to the first Rutherford right, at least lyric right, and that's Land of Confusion. Okay, this is a real game changer for the band. I mean, crazy change of the game here.
So we're going to use these puppets in
That's
the
right.
video. Okay, like puppets of like, well, of like world leaders, pop culture icons of the time. And so, okay, so the puppet, so what's it going to look like? Well, we're going to take your features and make it look like you. So like the best features, oh no.
We're going to downplay those.
Yes, we're going to make them look
We're going to
grotesque.
exaggerate the worst parts.
Oh my God. I remember watching this thinking, even as a kid thinking, who is the hell signed off on this? I would have taken one look at that and been like, no.
Especially for Phil Collins, who's this enormous star, right? But it comes from, there's a British TV show called Spitting Image where they would make these puppets. And yes, they would send up world leaders and do phony interviews and stuff like that. I guess Peter Fluck, which must have been a horrible name to grow up with, and Roger Law, it's like, what the Fluck, Peter?
Yeah, I'm sorry, it's Fluck.
It's
oh, sorry.
Yeah. So very strange. But I guess they had made one of Phil on the show because, Phil's everywhere. So they have to send up the guy who you can't get away from. And he's like, oh, yeah, I love that. Make some for all of us. And then they do the video. But what was great about it was they're kind of following Ronald Reagan. And look, the 80s are very much defined by Ronald Reagan.
Right.
Politically. And yeah, and Maggie's in it, right? Maggie Thatcher. And but then all the other people of the day like Muammar Gaddafi, Gorbachev, and, all those guys are, around there. Henry Kissinger was you couldn't miss him. He's pretty recognizable, let's just say. But, Mussolini was in there, the Ayatollah Khomeini. I mean, and then in one part, he's in his Superman suit. Superman, where are you now? And that's him. But then he's also got the chimp in there from Bedtime with Bonzo,
Oh, okay. Yeah, got you. That was very strange. And I didn't really understand what Bedtime for Bonzo was in 1987, but okay.
Yeah.
You forget about that he was a movie star.
Huge.
Or he was in movies.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's pretty big. He wasn't Kirk Douglas or anything.
Right.
He was a pretty big movie star. And he was a joke in California when he became governor. But then it's like, well, he actually managed to turn a pretty blue place kind of red there for a while. Maybe he could do that for the United States. I thought he was great when I was a kid. I didn't really know what was going on.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I mean, because we were kicking ass.
Yeah, and he's happy,
right.
and
the
he's
Russians
smiling.
are a piece of crap, and we're going to kick the shit out of them. And
we got MTV.
Correct.
You all don't have blue jeans. You guys suck ass. People don't leave America to go to Russia. Like they'll risk their lives to get out of Russia to come to America. It doesn't work the other way. No. So it was crazy.
But the best thing is you watch this video and you think, Well, it's a good thing that we don't have to put up with any of that stuff now. Womp,
Yeah,
womp.
right. It's just a cycle. It just keeps coming back in your face, man.
Yep.
Robert Christgau, of all
Yes.
people, listed
All right.
in his year-end Dean's List Top 10 Music Videos of the Year, and number 3 on his list of his annual survey of music critics. Kind of came in behind Sledgehammer, of course, on
well,
Christgau's
yes.
list.
Uh-huh.
And it was nominated for Video of the Year at the MTV Music Video Awards, which I thought it would probably win, but it lost out to Sledgehammer by Peter Gabriel. So it's funny. Phil had a thing. They said, you know who knocked you off the top spot was Peter Gabriel with Sledgehammer. He goes, I didn't know that. If I had, we'd have sent him a card. You know, it said, congratulations, bastard. So, you know, the love's still there. I would go through all the B-sides, but depending on whether it's 12-inch or CD or 7-inch or UK or US or European, there's a lot of different places it ends up, right?
All right.
But bottom line is number 4 on Billboard, number 1 on 11 on Album Rock Tracks, number 5 on Cashbox, and number 14 in the UK. So this is a pretty steady thing. Your top 5 on the big one, your top 10 or so on the smaller ones, maybe number 1, and then the UK, you're in the teens. It's been the same for the first 3 here, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that
Yeah.
Disturbed had done a version in 2006 that actually went to number 1 on mainstream rock.
Okay.
I mean, I think it like barely cracked the Billboard 100, but number 1 on mainstream rock. Now, I'm not a huge Disturbed fan, as you know, so I'm not following their career, but I do like it when heavier bands take a lighter song and do their wicked thing to it.
Yes.
Like a Seals and Crofts song, Sweet Days of Summer, and then they do Sweet Days of Summer. Yeah. That's kind of fun, you know? I like that.
Scaring me. But I think it goes to show that even though this was a big hit, there's heavy duty content in this, and if you listen to what they're saying, yeah, it's, you know, you've got a couple of people in charge of everything making a mess
Yeah.
of the world.
I mean, even at the end, he's like, oh, he's all sweaty when he wakes up. Where's the nurse? There's 2 buttons. There's one for noose and there's one for nuke. And he accidentally hits the nuke button, and then we're all screwed, you know?
That probably wasn't the best idea. You probably should have separated that more and maybe made them different, because
Yeah.
it was way too easy for him to nuke the world.
Yeah, or maybe put the nuke across the room, so at least you have
Right.
to wake up to do it, you know, kind of
Correct.
thing. I'm sure Trump has figured that out because he's so smart and does everything the right way. I always think about what's best for everyone besides himself. But next is, I mean, so look,
Yes,
that is career defining for Genesis, Land of Confusion,
And
because of the video.
yes, okay. And as odd as it may sound, this was the only Genesis song used in the Miami Vice soundtrack in the final episode, Free Fall. You would think
interesting.
all of these. Now, a lot of Phil Collins stuff got used, but this
Right.
was the only Genesis song.
That is very interesting, and I didn't know that. I'm so glad you told me that.
We've got to point out everything Miami Vice. related.
Absolutely. There's no doubt about it. The thing is, you know, they had to make a couple of them, these mask puppet things. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about one day, Mike Rutherford's like, yeah, somebody in Texas, somebody in Dallas has one of my heads. And then Phil's like, what do you think he does with it? He's like, oh, God, I never thought about that until you just said that. Because I got to tell you, I love rock and roll memorabilia. I would never want one of those things in my house, dude.
And when you think, well, they wouldn't do anything weird with it, they probably would.
What are you talking about, dude?
Yeah, exactly. Yikes.
Especially in Texas, dude. Hey, there's all
Right?
sorts of manners of weirdo down there, dude. All right, let's move on to the last song on side 1,
Uh-huh.
Into Deep.
Yes.
Second single released in the UK, but the 5th in the US. Mm-hmm. So August 86 UK, but like, I don't know, March or something 87 US, I don't know. Later, was apparently written for the British film Mona Lisa,
All right.
which I to this day have never seen. And I guess it won the most performed song from a film award at the BMI Film and Television Awards in 1988. But I don't know that movie. But there was a movie that came out in 2000 that I know.
Oh boy. Yeah.
Christian Bale, called American Psycho.
Ah, yes.
Where he talks about it in a fun way while he's like basically murdering this chick and slicing her up. He describes it as the most moving pop song of the 1980s about monogamy and commitment. The song is extremely uplifting. The lyrics are as positive and affirmative as anything I've heard in rock. Meanwhile, he's got blood all over his face. That's such a sick movie. And yet...
Is that a raincoat? It is. So I think here's the problem with this entire part of the Genesis timeline. It's really hard to distinguish this song in particular from anything Phil Collins did. This is how you get like is this Phil Collins? Is this Genesis? What's going on? This is a Phil Collins song, start to finish.
Yeah, he wrote it, but you're right. I mean, how would you discern this from one of his solo songs?
You can't.
I don't feel like you can.
Listen, you know I love you, but I just can't take this. You know I love you, but I'm playing for keeps. Although I need you, I'm not gonna need this. You know I want to, but I'm in too deep. So listen to me.
I think Rutherford is doing some cool stuff on the guitar. He's kind of just floating on top, and he's got his little acoustic guitar there. And it sounds really cool. But yeah, this is a Phil Collins song.
Yeah, and I guess he wrote the chorus while he was staying in Sydney, at a hotel in Sydney, Australia, on a solo tour. And then, thanks to this album, they got to tour Sydney and Australia and New Zealand for their first and only time. Was the Invisible Touch tour, only time they'd been down there.
So you're welcome.
Yeah. Now, the first 3 songs, they basically played those every night since this came out. But this one they only played on this tour, and maybe even only the U.S. leg of the tour.
Okay.
And maybe it's because it wasn't a big hit elsewhere, but I don't think that that's 100% true. I mean, again, we'll do the numbers. Number 3, Billboard. So again, it's top 5. Number 1, adult contemporary. 25 mainstream rock is not that great, but 19 UK singles charts. Again, this is a slow, kind of a lament, right? Sweet song. But see, at this point, this is where the fatigue really starts to come in.
Okay.
For me, anyways. Like, Land of Confusion is something else. It's got the puppets. It's talking about, the world being crazy. I can dig that. Invisible Touch was upbeat. Phil's having fun. He's being silly in the video. That's what he does. And then Tonight, it's a slow song. I get it. Turns out it's about drug addiction, which gives it a little more street cred.
Right.
This one, I don't know, man. I mean, I don't dislike it. And at the time, it comes on. It's like, okay, I get it, but I mean.
Yeah. You can't dislike it because it's hooky as hell. The whole thing is just, I mean, it's a nice song.
It's a top 5 song.
Yeah, it's very pleasant, but this is something your mom would listen to.
And it was.
Yeah. I mean, that's
Right.
it's what's on. And it's about, we're kind of back to the Invisible Touch thing, as far as there's this person and the relationship is probably not that great for me, but I can't get away from you. Yeah. So
like, pick better chicks, dude.
right,
Come
exactly.
on.
Put yourself in a better situation.
It's like women who are like, oh, men are pieces of shit and they don't do that. Like look in the mirror. It's your taste as much as it is his fault. But look, man, there's 4 songs on the album, on the first side of the album. They're all top 5 hits in America. All of them.
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's huge. This thing was just, and the thing is, like you said, it was everywhere. It was on the rock chart. It was on adult contemporary. It was in ads. It was.
It's on the pop charts.
Yeah.
They're all over MTV all the time. Yeah. I mean, you can't escape Phil Collins and Genesis at this time. And the fatigue is starting to set in a little bit. It's like they didn't even know there were other songwriters, producers out there. Like when Steve Hackett got together with Steve Howe, they're like, okay, yeah, we can let you back in the big time. In 83, when he's like, hey, I got this solo album. I was in Genesis. Really? Is Phil Collins on your album? Could you put him on it? Like, go fuck yourselves. I left that shit.
And
this is going to be like the dirtiest, like explicit rated show we've ever done, by the way. the way.
for this record. And you figure too, you're talking about fatigue. Even though it was kind of hard to see now, I think people were starting to get sick of Phil Collins. Like he was everywhere all the time. I mean, now we're talking what, 2+ years of him everywhere. It's
Yeah.
like this sounds like it could have been off No Jacket Required. So
Yeah.
we're extending that out again. I want to, it's not that I hate this song, but it's just like,
I know. It's soft.
yeah.
Hi, this is Guy Fletcher from Dire Straits, and you're listening to The Ugly American Werewolf in London.
So you flip it over now.
All right.
There are going to be some songs that maybe you don't know that well on here.
Okay.
And the first one is Anything She Does. Now, Tony apparently got inspiration for this from pictures of scantily clad women the band would cut out and place on the wall of the recording studio. Now, that alone changes their image for me.
Okay.
Because you know that, like Van Halen, wherever Dave is, there's going to be pictures of scantily clad women wherever he's working or whatever, right?
Yeah.
You pick anybody who's big at the time. REO, Speedwagon, Journey, whatever. Yeah, I expect them to have scantily clad women. I don't expect Tony Banks to have that, to be honest with you. I expect him to have, a picture of his mom or like his graduation from high school photo in there or something like that.
Or if you were talking about like anything that would be some semi-erotic to him, it would be like keyboards. Like, is
Right.
that the new Moog?
Who's Emu emulator? Oh, I need one of those,
So sexy. But here's where we're deficient in the United States. The UK had The Sun newspaper, and The Sun had the world famous Page 3 girls,
Right.
who were topless in most of them, and that wasn't a big deal. Like it was in a newspaper, and it was just a naughty thing. But yeah, I never realized that obviously you knew Phil was into women, but you never, Tony Banks, like what? No.
I know. It's like, if he hadn't been a musician, he would have been like a banker or something like
Correct.
that.
Yes.
He even talked about that during the Genesis, some of the parts. And I'm like, see, that's how you're different. You all went to private school. Like, we're going to go be kings of industry, but we're going to take the other path. We're going to go do music. And we thought it would be just as great starting out versus starting in a bank. And I'm like, you think Joe Perry and Steven Tyler are like, well, we could start in a bank, or maybe we could try this rock and roll thing. No, they went to Berkeley. Well, not Joe, but the rest of them did, because they wanted to be musicians, and that's the only thing they could think of being,
Correct.
Now, I'd never seen the music video because they didn't release it as a single.
Right.
But they did make one with Benny Hill in it.
I was going to say, how do you put this over the top? You include Mr. Alfred Hawthorne, Benny Hill, who is always up for a good time. Although in 1987, that was kind of the end of the run there. But I mean, that show was huge in the UK, and it was the same thing every time. But I mean, it was the same Back to the Page 3 thing. The humor was going to be, very cheeky, and then you were going to have not naked but scantily clad women running around, and that was just the best.
Yeah, well, in addition to Benny, there were Page 3 models in it, as you mentioned, Jackson, Maria Whitaker and Suzanne Mitzi, which sucks because I clicked on them on Wikipedia and it takes me to their page. It doesn't take me to any pictures of them. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. Give me a print. What do you think I was clicking for, you fools?
And before we get started, no, I don't want to see them now. Thank you.
Well, it's my wife's listening. You're right. But otherwise, yes, I want to see. Well, no, you're right. I don't want to see them in the 2020s. No, I want to see them in bathing suits or whatever in the 1980s.
Correct.
Thank you very much.
Oh, you do rescue dogs now. Oh, okay, cool. No, I don't care about that.
It turns out that this is the only song off of this album that they did not play live because apparently it's too difficult to play.
Well, there is that big horn section.
But that's all on the Emu emulator thing. That's not real horns. Because people thought because they're real horns from the Earth, Wind, and Fire horn section on Abacab, maybe they did it again. And it's not true. It was something that Tony had recorded and had on tape.
You were talking about that, just for a quick side note here. You were talking about that emulator thing. I felt bad because I was looking at that like, well, what is this thing? I felt bad for Rick Wakeman because that is the Bytron.
Yeah.
Only, or Byrotron, or whatever he came up with. Only it's electronic. So you just sit there and you record a dog barking or the phone ringing or something, and then it's in the computer chip, and then you can just fire it at any time. Like exactly. That's the same thing.
Yeah, that's what he was going for. Yeah.
Right. Right. Oh, well.
It's technology, man.
Yeah.
So I don't like this one. It's fast paced, but it's cheesy 80s. Like it's so 80s synthed out and tinny. This my note was this makes Rat Race look like In the Air Tonight.
It just seems like it was one of those, like they only had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They only had 7 songs, and they're like, well, we need, we can't do it. This is too short. What else have you got? Here's another one. Like this just sounds thrown together. Like they were just kind of messing with it.
But this should have been the second to last song on the album because this is just
right.
This is not that great of a song. I mean, it's just thin. It's kind of tinny. I mean, I don't like it. I mean, especially after you have those 4 top 5 hits.
Yeah.
Even though they're not that hard rocking, like this one's like, and it's about a pinup girl that he's never going to get a crack at. That makes it even worse.
Yeah, I didn't even know this or remember this one at all. And then I said, wait, what? Anything she does? What is this? And they have a video? Okay.
With Benny Hill, of all people.
Benny Hill, yes.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's enough of that one. I don't like that one.
Right.
But next is one I really do like, and it's Domino. And this is them holding on to their prog roots, I feel like. Tony would say, we didn't stop doing long songs altogether. We still had one long kind of proggy song on every album. And for this album, it's Domino, which is broken into 2 sections, In the Glow of the Night and The Last Domino. It's kind of like 2 songs they squish together to me. I mean, the lyrics have some overlap to kind of make it one statement, sort of. But I feel like the music is 2 different things that they just kind of decided we'll put them all together into one. I mean, am I way off on that?
No, it definitely sounds, there are definitely 2 different feels.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell when it switches from one to the other. Sometimes
Absolutely.
you can't. On these big long songs, you're like, well, wait a minute. Oh, that was part 3 and not part 4. This one you can tell A and B. And yeah, is this about homelessness? Is this about political stuff? What's going on here?
So he states, Tony, that his inspiration for this song was the Lebanese Civil War.
Okay.
Which was being contested, during the recording of the album. And he basically kind of puts himself in a hotel room in Beirut, like minutes after the bombs start to fall on the city. Like
okay.
That's kind of what he was going for, I guess.
Because now I see what we're talking about. Like, I could see how I would get the homelessness stuff from the sheets to keep the cold out. And then there's, the rivers of blood they're talking about also.
Right.
And there actually were some clips of that or a clip or 2 in the Iron Maiden video or the Burning Ambition movie. They showed some clips of people from Lebanon. So everything going on at the same time. And yeah, it's just horrible. They just showed it's just rubble, like where this town used to be. There's just nothing anymore.
And apparently Phil would come out before this and kind of talk about like consequences, like, okay, if the people over here on this side do something, it could negatively affect the people over here on this side, which just causes them to then do this. So it is like when stuff happens, it's a
like
row of dominoes, right? Yeah, and that's what happens. And yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, look at this. Do you know what you've done? Do you know what you've begun? Do you see we shall never be together again? Lonely people, empty rooms, all the pointless violence, silent tombs.
Right. So, I think it kind of goes to too, like, you're making these heavy duty decisions, these politicians, like, are you really thinking through the consequences, or is this just kind of what you came up with today? So it kind of ties back to Land of Confusion also.
A little bit. Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. And now you know what In the Glow of the Night means, because if like you're in Paris, it's romantic in the glow of the night. But if you're in Beirut, it's the bombs coming. Yeah, it's not good. Now I think it's good, but I think the second part is The Last Domino is way better to me. I mean, I've kind of always liked it better. It does have a little bit of tinny synth in it, but I feel like it's like charging forward. It's
I was going to say, I have it picks up. It kind of gets going a little bit, and then she's got to go domino. That's like the closest thing you're going to get to a chorus.
Right.
Take a look at the mountains.
And that's what's kind of hard with some of these prog songs too. Like it's not, you've got the setup, you've got the chorus, you've got the setup again. With something like this, you got to listen to it straight through. So if you can get that a little bit of a reprieve in there, that's more of like a pop song. And yeah, I like how it picks up also.
But if you didn't know you were reading Genesis lyrics and you heard this, you'd have think they were a metal band.
Right.
Take a look at the mountains. Take a look at the beautiful river of blood. The liquid surrounds me. I fight to rise from this river of hell. I stare round about me, and children are swimming and playing with boats. Their features are changing. Their bodies dissolve, and I am alone. That is heavy-duty stuff. That's a metal band, dude.
It should be the rivers of blood.
Exactly. But so that's kind of like one perspective. Then I feel like they're looking at from like their own perspective. Well, now you never did see such a terrible thing as you seen last night on the TV. Maybe if we're lucky, they will show it again. So it's like, oh, it's a terrible thing to see.
But it's so far away, that doesn't affect me directly.
Yes. But the last lines are, but there's nothing you could do when you're next in line. You've got to go domino. Yeah. And that's kind of what's going on there. Well, if we get Iran to fall, then the next domino will be dut and dut and dut and dut. And then, everything will be, I'm like, do you even think about the human beings these dominoes represent, man?
Yeah, it's very heavy duty, especially for the rest of the stuff on this record.
Yeah, absolutely. But you know what? They have played it ever since it came out too. They haven't missed the tour, I don't think. And they did play it on the last tour in its entirety. And I got to tell you, it was great. It was awesome, to be honest with you.
Tony had a comment about like just long songs in general playing live because it kind of gives you more space to fool around a little bit and put some other stuff in and really play. Whereas if you want to extend out Invisible Touch, that's probably not going to work. People know the beginning, the middle, the end. Let's go. This you've got a little more freedom.
Well, also it's the one song off the album that Tony wrote that they'll play. So of course they're going to keep playing it.
Oh no, we're playing that tonight.
Just like they play I Can't Dance because Tony wrote it. And it sucks. And if you're listening, Tony, I'm telling you that song sucks. Domino, love it, bud. I Can't Dance, put that
Not
in the
so
bin,
much.
dude. Yeah. That is not good. So they're holding on to their prog roots, but they're still doing it in a poppy kind of way.
Yeah, but they haven't totally abandoned that.
That's right. That's right. They're not throwing it all away. You like what I did there?
Nice segue.
Yeah. But see, here's the thing. I think that Domino actually got to like number 29 on mainstream rock. Obviously, it wasn't released as a single, but because it's pretty good, DJs played it. Yeah. And so he got some chart action there. So between the first four all big hits, Anything She Does got a video, even though it wasn't released as a single. And then Domino got airplay. So we kind of are familiar with all these. And then the second to last song on the album, The Last Rutherford Wright, Throwing It All Away. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do. Do-do-do. Okay. Yes, obviously this is kind of cheesy. And again, you could say the same thing, is that this is very hard to discern from Phil's solo output at the time.
Right. I was really surprised that it was a Rutherford Wright when I saw this. I figured
agree
it was
with
Collins.
You. Yeah. You're right about that. Here's the only thing. I actually really love the guitar from Mike on this.
Yeah, it's a great hook. It is a great hook.
Riff, man. I mean, it's not, the hard stuff that I like, but you got to admire what he put together.
Oh, yeah. And this is one of those ones, too. If you listen to what he's saying, this song is brutal. It's about some dude who, like, the old lady's walking out the door, and he's like, "Why? I don't want this to end. You're going to be sorry. This is the real deal, and I can't make you stay, but you're making a huge mistake. And this is just a guy who's going to be all by himself, saying, 'I told you so.'"
Yeah. And now, who will light up the darkness? Who will hold your hand? Who will find you the answers when you don't understand? Why should I have to be the one who has to convince you?
Right.
I know, baby, that I don't want to go. Yeah, I was 100% convinced this was a Phil Collins, right? I mean,
right.
It's exactly what he sings about. It's like a woman who's, out the door, but he doesn't want it to happen.
Right.
It's probably going to have to happen kind of thing. It sounds exactly like everything he ever sang during this time period.
And this is another one where it's like, is this off No Jack? Yeah. This is a Genesis song. That's right. Gotcha.
But I mean, honestly, because of that guitar riff, I'll never dislike the song.
Yeah, no, it hooks you right off the bat. Yeah, it is really good.
And like the first three, they've played this basically every night since 1986. They always play this song because it's a hit and it's a nice song. And I love the riff. Number 4 on Billboard. So there's your fifth top 5 hit. Number 1 adult contemporary. Number 1 album rock tracks. Number 22 in the UK. So the US got it too well. UK didn't get it quite well enough is the way I look at it.
Situation, knew it from the start. Every time that I look at you, well, I can see the future. 'Cause you know, babe, that I don't wanna go. Just throw it all away. Throw it all away.
But I remember when they played this live, I thought it was great. And I got to hold the she wolf and, we got to sing to each other a little bit.
Right.
Because it went domino, throwing it all away. Tonight, invisible touch. And then they stopped for the encore. So the last 4 songs of the regular set were all from Invisible Touch.
Yeah, kind of a big deal.
And then they come out for the encore. They do I Can't Dance. I'm screaming, this song sucks. Like the old English people were looking at me like I'm some kind of jerk. My wife's like, why are you being like that? Because this fucking song's terrible. That's why.
I got to tell them the truth, man.
I'm telling you, speak truth to power. Tony, this song sucks. And when they did band introductions after Duchess, I'm like, smile, Tony. Smile, you unhappy asshole. People are like, why do I have it in for Tony Banks? I'm like, well,
he kind of does
a
it
little
to himself.
cocky for who he is. Okay? I'm just saying, he's a little too happy with himself.
I saw a clip of him, and he was. I was trying to figure out about that emulator, and he was talking about it. But this is way after the fact. Like he's much older now, and he's sitting in a production studio with like 3 or 4 other guys. And I'm thinking to myself, but he just must be an absolute ass by himself. When it's like you can't
There's
do
no one to
things
check
fast
him.
enough, right? You hit the wrong button. That wasn't exactly what I asked for. Like, oh yeah, you need somebody to be like, shut up, Tony. Go go play with your keyboard, and we'll see you in a minute.
I'll write the big hit songs. You can do the little fiddly keyboard bits. Thank you.
Right.
But I got to tell you, I really do. I love that song. And then the last one is the Brazilian, an instrumental. I have to agree with Ryan Reed, who reviewed it for Rolling Stone, who said, it's a strange way to end Genesis' most radio-friendly LP. That's exactly what I said. I'm like, you have all these huge hits, and then you have these hooks everywhere, and even the songs that don't get airplay are pretty darn good. And then you've got this. It's just kind of weird. I give them some credit because it leans back into their prog roots, right? So I'm like, okay, they're not completely blowing it off, but I'm like, to me, this is the typical, hey, we've only got 46 minutes, or 40 minutes. We need more. Okay, well, here's this jam. We don't have any, lyrics for it, but we can throw this on here.
What is it called? The Brazilian. Oh, okay. Got it.
Yeah.
The only thing is, you're right. I think it just does feel like a time filler at the end of this deal. But I do go back to the conversation they thought about when Gabriel left. Like, do we just continue as an instrumental group?
Right.
That would have been a horrible mistake.
Well, I don't know what the conversation was. I think Phil said it. Hey, why don't we continue instrumentally? Why don't you shut up and get behind the drums? All right,
let
shut
this
up.
guy in here.
Yeah, exactly. We have songs that need to be sung, you idiot. Who brought him anyway? Here's the thing. It's a bunch of racket to start to me, honestly. Eventually,
it kind of builds to that, I guess, instrumental chorus is what you could think. Where I can kind of groove to that. But yeah, at the beginning, it's just kind of noise. And then I looked at it and I'm like, 450 or whatever this is. Well, there's got to be some lyrics in here somewhere. This isn't a complete nope.
Not at all.
This is all instrumental.
And of course, Tony dominates it, but Phil is really doing a lot of his thing, a lot of percussion on there. And eventually Mike comes in and he's banding some strings, and it's actually pretty good. I just, it's extra as far as I'm concerned on a album just chock full of hits and big, thick songs. This is just kind of here's a little something extra for you. I had no idea. that it was featured in the animated disaster film When the Wind Blows, because I've never seen that.
Okay.
Apparently it's like an R-rated animated picture, like Heavy Metal, only not as fun,
Okay.
But it was scored by Roger Waters, so that makes sense that it was no fun. And
It was a big bummer.
Yeah.
So it was scored by Roger Waters, but he still used a Genesis song.
yeah.
Interesting. Right.
Because it's an instrumental, yeah. Apparently it was also used on an episode of Magnum P.I. called Unfinished Business.
Ooh.
And then it was used extensively for the BBC in their coverage of the 1987 World Athletics Championships, which is, I guess, what happens the year before the Olympics.
Okay.
And then the song was also featured in the American science fiction romantic comedy film Palm Springs during Sarah Wilder's quantum physics montage. And I never saw that, so I don't even. Yeah, I have no frame of reference on that. But hey, great! It's another paycheck you can put on the stack. Like, because that's what they needed.
Right.
It was another paycheck off of this album, But no, I mean, and then seeing that last tour, despite Phil Collins' condition, the tour was a huge success. The screens were amazing. And I thought the set list was as close to perfect as you're going to get, to be honest with you. And let's see, I guess I can...
Except for the first encore.
Well, I mean, yeah, you can't... I mean, I don't like that I Can't Dance song.
Right. But
I
you
know
knew
it
they
was
were going to put it in there.
It's a bit of a hit.
Right.
But the thing is, they did... I love how they have the breakdown at the bottom. 5 songs off Invisible Touch, 4 off 83 Genesis, 4 off Selling England by the Pound, then 3 from Duke, 3 from We Can't Dance, which could have been 1 or 2, 2 from Lamb, 1 from And Then There Were 3, and 1 from Wind and Wuthering. So Trick of the Tail didn't get anything on the last tour. Abacab didn't get anything on the last tour. Nothing from Foxtrot. But as far as big hits go, I mean, they still did old stuff. They still did Firth of Fifth. They still did I Know What I Like, In Your Wardrobe. They still did Dancing with the Moonlit Night. They still ended with Carpet Crawlers. Gotta Get In to Get Out. They did Lamb Lies Down. They did Cinema Show.
Yeah.
Fading Lights. So, I mean...
Follow you, will you follow me?
There's another Rutherford Wright,
Yeah.
So how do we... Here's the brass tacks question.
Yeah.
How do we look at this compared to the 70s stuff, which we have certainly now gotten to know and embraced and have a lot of respect for?
Yeah. As far as like content, I don't think that it even comes close. I mean, it's way more heavy duty, way more complex creations coming out of the 70s.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, you've got some stuff on this where you would say, okay, I see that they're really playing together. And maybe if I really got into the minutia of what was happening, it's more complex than I think it is. But as capable as Mike Rutherford is playing, a couple of different instruments, he's not Steve Hackett. He doesn't have that guitar, I think, focused approach to this. And I really wonder, because I was watching something about, there was some documentary that they made. It was a quick one about this for the BBC or something. And they mentioned about Trick of the Tail. And, they were talking about, you got no beep, beep. And, there's Steve is sitting there and like, I wonder what these albums would have been like with him there as a dude who was a guitar player.
Right.
Probably would have been more in the mix, the guitar parts. So yeah, I mean, you can't discount this as far as like the impact that it had.
Right.
And the fact too that they, you were talking about the last set list, they didn't abandon that stuff. So it wasn't like, well, we don't play that anymore. Don't worry about it. So I have to give this thing credit for keeping them going and introducing them to a whole new generation of people.
Yeah.
But as far as like, if you said to me, You have to listen to a Genesis record right now. What would it be? It probably wouldn't be this one.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, and
Right.
look, they took advantage of the times. There's this thing called MTV, and we could just shoot ourselves running around backstage on a 8mm or whatever, and put that out, and it'll help us sell records.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's do it. That's fine. I was looking back at what we've done Genesis wise. We have done Selling England by the Pound. We've done Foxtrot, Genesis 83, and Trick of the Tail. Plus, of course, we did me at that second to last ever Genesis concert live in London. And of course, we've done some Steve Hackett shows, and early on we did some in like his involvement in Genesis. So if this is the 6th Genesis show, the 5th Genesis album that we've done between Trick of the Tail, Genesis 83, Foxtrot, and Selling England, where would you rank it 1 to 5 among those 5? Because I got to tell you, as much as it's like, okay, this is, I like Selling England better, or I like what Steve Hackett does so much better, I would take it over Foxtrot.
Okay.
I would take it over Genesis 83.
Interesting.
Would I take it over Trick of the Tail? I mean, I think I'd have to put Selling England ahead of it for sure.
Absolutely. And I think I'd have to put Trick of the Tail over it also, because I think that there's some cool stuff going on. I like the fact that it was Phil coming out of his shell and becoming the front man. The only thing about this record is, man, it brings back a lot of memories.
Yeah.
Of, being in high school and, just things that were like events in my life that were associated with listening to this record. And so maybe if I didn't know this at all and I listened to it, I would have a very different thought about this. But man, the more I thought about this, I'm like, man, this ties a lot to that time in my life. It was everywhere.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's when we were like 13 and 14.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking like 8th grade, and like that's a bizarre time anyway in your life. There's like a lot going on. You're like 13 years old and stuff's happening, and you think you know everything, but you don't know anything. But you'd like to ask for some help, but you can't because you're tough now. Right. And you like girls, but they don't like you, but they do, but they just don't want to tell you that they like you. Yeah, it's just a strange time. And then there's these middle-aged English guys with these synthed out pop tracks that are all over the place. And that's when we start looking for, is there anything harder? Just not pop out there that we can listen to? So
I think this was probably the very tail end of that for us. Like because I remember when I Can't Dance came out, what was that, 90?
You were in school together.
Yeah, 91, 92, something like. By that point, I was like, yeah, no, sorry guys, you lost me on this one. Yeah.
But that's when you told me that guy can make a hit out of anything.
Well, that is true.
Yes. he could sing about like molesting children and he'd go in the top 20. And sure enough, he had a song about, No Son of Mine's like, a father not wanting a gay son that went into the top 20. Like, you couldn't even sing about that 5 years ago. And now it's a top 20 hit thanks to Phil Collins.
Yeah, he just had the magic touch. But yeah, it is tough because I don't want to say they've declined in their playing. That's not the case. It's almost like they're catering now to making songs that people will like to listen to. It's like that. What's that scene in Wayne's World when they're like, yeah, the Led Zeppelin didn't make songs for everybody. They left that to the Bee Gees.
Yeah, that's right.
It's like, are you trying to do that now? Are you trying to write these hits? But on the flip side, you make a lot of money when you sell records. That's the deal.
And you play huge gigs, and I don't care who you are. If you're Kurt Cobain, everybody wants to play huge gigs. There's no buzz like playing in front of tens of thousands of people. There is nothing to replace that. I mean, versus playing to 1,500 or something like that, you can't beat it. So everybody wants that.
Right. What's that Gene Simmons line? Anybody that tells you they didn't get into this to be rich and famous is lying.
Yeah, you want to play the big stuff,
Of course, you want people just eating up every word that you have to say. You want all of these, chicks backstage. Oh my God, we love you so much. You're so hot. Okay, whatever. But yeah, that's what you want. You want this rock star lifestyle. You want to sell millions. You want to play stadiums around the world. Yeah. You want to have a crew of 100 people moving these giant trucks full of stuff so you can put on this giant show. Yeah, it's fantastic. So I can't fault them for that. But at the same time, do I really want to listen to this? Probably not.
No, you can't fault them for, I mean, it's evolution. And in any business, don't you want to grow your business? Well, of course you do, right?
To be more successful, yes.
But this is like their 13th album or something like that. I mean, who has a 15 million seller? Not until their 13th album or whatever it is. You know, that doesn't happen.
There was some interesting talk about that too, around this record, about how, you know, especially at that point in time, the record business was, if you don't have hits, you're out. Like, that's it. Like, you don't get into this. I mean, you'd sign a 3-record deal, so you don't get a 4th record, and maybe not even a second one. Maybe it's 2 and then a live album. And that's what they were saying. Like, yeah, we spent a long time, like, you know, kind of putting this together, crafting this, building this base up. You just don't get that anymore.
No, yeah, and then you throw in the whole, oh, by the way, our lead singer, who used to just kind of be the drummer, is now a huge pop star in his own right outside of the band. You don't want it to be completely different, do you? I mean, you don't want to be, this is completely different. You know, it's like, I can tell Stevie Nicks solo songs from a Fleetwood Mac stuff, but it still sounds like Stevie Nicks singing.
Correct.
So it still sounds like the Stevie Nicks Fleetwood Mac stuff. Maybe it doesn't sound like the Lindsay stuff or the Chris stuff. But like we said, there's a few on here. Can you really tell that it wasn't on No Jacket Required?
Right. Like you have to, what record did that come off of? Oh, that's right. Yeah, I mean, they all sound the same. And to his credit, he can write a song that's great. And maybe even, you know, now we're taking other people's songs and kind of molding them into that pattern.
Yeah.
To package it. So, yeah, this is a very interesting band when you get into this, because like you said, they're 14 albums in and they have this massive hit.
Well, so this is the closest we've ever done Genesis shows together. We did Trick of the Tail on 271, which came out in February.
Okay.
So this is coming up pretty, I mean, we like to, I mean, we can't do them just once a year. We at least like to spread them out, you know, between, especially on something like this, where it's basically 2 different bands almost, with the Steve Hackett, Peter Gabriel stuff versus the big 80s stuff. But yeah, I mean, do I like Trick of the Tail better for its musicianship? The other thing is, it's the trends. It's not just changes in styles, but also changes in technology. Tony's using all these different keyboards. Phil is using the digital drum kit. They're using home studio stuff to then come into their real studio or whatever. They can get away with this stuff now. It was very different in the 70s, where you basically kind of had to lock yourselves down and exchange ideas, and recording was very different. Now it's all very digital. In fact, it says on here on the CD ADD, and this is from the time where they actually explained in the back what ADD actually means. It's not attention deficit disorder. It's that it was recorded in analog, mixed in digital, and mastered in digital. And that was always a big deal. Like, is it AAD or is it ADD? You know,
or is it totally D? There were a couple of those.
There's some of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, you're right. I really doubt, had they showed up for the Trick of the Tail sessions with, we really don't have anything, we're just going to kind of get in here and fool around, the record company would have said, no, come back in 6 months when you actually have something. We're not spending studio time for you to explore the space.
Explore the space.
Yeah.
No, I mean it. Explore the space. You're going to want that cowbell. It's complicated. Genesis is complicated. This album, with the time that it came out, the time in our lives it came out, the way it was ubiquitous on MTV, especially Land of Confusion, and then the sappy, slow songs, but they're not bad. They're hooky as hell.
Correct. That's the thing, is you don't want to. There was a guy that I worked with for a while, and he was a young, like more of the urban music.
Okay.
And so he said something about some track, like some pop track, and I was like, "You listen to that?" And he just looked at me and he said, "Not with the windows down." So that was, one of those, like, you're in the car by yourself. And that's the way I feel about some of this stuff. Like, like, for instance, like In Too Deep, like, it's a cheesy song, but it's hooky as hell.
I know.
And more than Invisible Touch to me. And then Throwing It All Away, the same thing. That riff is just phenomenal. Yeah. But it's just, you're going to blast that when you're barbecuing out in the backyard? No. It's, it's something much heavier than that.
So it can't be my favorite just because I have too much respect for the 70s Genesis and that cool stuff that they did, which I feel like was really groundbreaking, whereas this was just really commercial.
Yeah.
I'm not anti-commercial, but yeah, there's something about it.
Well, you're okay.
It'll never be my favorite.
Right. You're anti-commercial for commercial's sake. Like, if you're just catering to something, then that's terrible.
Yeah. But I can't hate it either
Right.
because of the role it played in my life. And yeah, I won't listen to it, but then when some of them come on, Land of Confusion, I'll switch the channel. Just because without the puppets, it's like, it's like listening to that Little Pig song and not seeing the video. It's like, what's the point?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you have to admire their success. You have to admire their hooks. I can't give it a 2 thumbs up, but I can't give it 2 thumbs down either. It's complicated.
You can't trash it because they do have something here.
No doubt about it. I gotta say, it will never be one of my very favorite albums, Invisible Touch, but it does conjure up very specific memories of a very specific time in our lives. In that 8th to 9th grade time where your life is changing, the world seems like it's changing, and here's this band putting out all this pop rock music. It was after this that I got into harder music. Yeah, hard rock, heavy metal started to become not only more popular in music culture, but it turned us on in a big way. Now we're men, or trying to become men anyway, and this pop sugary stuff just didn't appeal to us anymore. Is there still great musicianship? You bet. Can Phil Collins still write a fantastic pop song and deliver it, sing it well? Absolutely. In that time period, you couldn't have been bigger than Phil Collins, and for good reason. He does have talent. He's even a very talented drummer, but it does cause burnout. It does cause copycats, and I feel like some of the 80s production from Hugh Padgham, it's a little thin. It's what everyone was doing. It's what everybody sounded like at the time, but that's not necessarily what I want from an album. I want something that's different, something that's special, something that stands out. And when you had all these great prog albums from the 70s and some decent, more pop albums from the early 80s, I don't know, it just leaves me wanting a little more. But hey, Genesis didn't care. Where they sell 15 million copies, had a huge world tour, and it allowed them to make one more album together, do another big tour, do a tour with a different singer, come back and do 2 huge reunion tours in the last 20 years. Genesis has a huge place in the rock and roll pantheon, but it's almost like they were a different band at this point than the 70s band who did Selling England by the Pound or The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. And obviously they have a different singer, and Steve Hackett, the brilliant guitar player, wasn't in the band at this point. But they were both on the charts at that point. Peter, as a solo artist, kind of helped knock Genesis off their perch, and Steve Hackett was working through not only a solo career, but was with GTR with Steve Howe around this time. It just shows there was a ton of talent in Genesis, and the fact that they can go from a super heavy prog band to a very pop-oriented brand just shows you that not only are they talented, but they're savvy. It might be fun to sell 500,000 records to chin scratchers going, this is very good. I like the time change here. But it's more fun to sell 15 million records to everybody, have women at the shows dancing and singing and looking back at you on stage. So I get it. And it's not a bad album. It doesn't offend me. And there's some songs that I'll always love on here. But for my money, I'd much rather have the 70s prog Genesis than this. But maybe you don't, and maybe that's why you need to do your show. Or maybe you need to let us know. Did we get something right? Did we get something wrong? Did we miss the point? Did we leave out your favorite part? Just email us and let us know. It's uglyamericanwerewolf@gmail.com. Let us know the bands, the albums, tours, concerts, DVDs, books, any kind of rock properties you want to hear us talk about here on the show. We love interacting with people on socials, so we want you to follow us there, but also we want you to subscribe and download wherever you get those shows. Downloads are the lifeblood of growing our show. And if you really want to help us grow, please go give us a 5-star review. It just means the world to us. It helps us find more rock and rollers like you. And if you send it our way, we might just read it on an episode. Thanks as always to Pantheon Podcast for making us part of the family. And thanks to our sponsor, rarevinyl.com, where if you use the code UGLY, you can save 10% off one entire order. Yes, they've got a lot of great Genesis stuff and a heck of a lot more. That's it for this month. Got a new First Concert Memories coming up. We've got some great album reviews. We got some fun conversations coming up. Lots of stuff to look forward to here on The Wolf, so you're going to have to stay tuned. And until next time, to all you rockers all around the world, be cool. Keep doing what you do to keep rock alive.